Really looking bouncy. Got that little dip to 64, or just a little bit under it. I got a wick here showing 64.25. Quickly right back to 65. I mean, they're lifting that offer quick. I think this thing could rip too. Apple's looking like it's pretty rippy, bouncy. But the Qs don't. So I'll be careful with anything longs, you know. Well, shouldn't say be careful. Get your longs, take the setups, get your longs. Just don't be afraid to get short. All right. Got me a starter on Netflix. I'm not missing that one. NVIDIA, haven't touched yet. Things are ripping though. All right. NVIDIA coming up on testing 151. I'm watching this 151. Let's see if we're just going to straight break out or what. Right, straight through it. No questions asked. All right, starter. Just getting a couple starters here. I'm going to get the short on NVIDIA. Got a starter there on the short. Netflix, just a starter here. I'm watching this 258. So those were just starters. I got the NVIDIA puts. Let's see, might have to lock in some green here on this. It's not much though. All right, time for daily recap. Today is Monday, 11/26/2018. Two tickers, Netflix and NVIDIA. Definitely went over Apple and SQ. I liked Apple short under the daily candle, 173.80, long over, just couldn't hold it. It was looking bouncy at the open, but looking at the Qs and how the Qs were holding up, you know, it was falling apart. So just expected it to close the gap, and it did. Got a little bounce, but just couldn't hold up, fell apart. I never touched Apple. I did like it short under that though. SQ, I never did touch it. Was really focused on the other ones, but this was a nice call. Thought I'd throw it out there. It did bounce right off that 64, and it's still going. I would like to have gotten this position early this morning for the swing all week, but I didn't. I was too busy focused on these. So let's go back and talk about this, where we're at here. I think in the live action I showed it all. So anyway, I ended up taking a piece of the long here. I got a starter off the gap close, 258 pre-market lows. I did get the short off of 260. So I did really well on the short. And I took one ad on the calls into this dip here. So I ended up taking an ad on the calls here, which I started in about a quarter size. I get this dip and I get the other 3/4 of my position. Brings my average down pretty nice. Got a nice rip and sold some into each push. I sold some at 260 and I sold some up in this area on the call side. And then I got all out. I didn't touch the calls again, as I didn't really trust them for the long side period. I just didn't trust them. So I ended up getting out the bulk of my puts, hung on to a piece for the ad around 260. We got this pop back up into here, and we got the pop back up to 260. I got an ad, so I got back in full 1R with the puts. We got the pop to 266. I took a different strike. I got a full 1R in there, and I did really well on these puts. I just sold the last of them not too long ago here. I held on to a piece like I always do. I got out about 80%. Sold here around 258 on the gap close again, double bottom. Still holding a piece of this. About 20% of my position left. I still have the position here in case we break down. We can continue. I have 2 different strikes on that. That's it there. Banked on the calls, banked on the puts. Made some nice money on this today, and all I'm holding is short now. NVIDIA, the other way around here. So you saw from the live video, I took the short here up around this area. Did really well on the puts here. I ended up taking the calls. I took the long right off this dip into the daily candle, 149.50 right here. So I ended up taking the calls. I'm still holding the calls. They're not quite in the money again, even though we've had this move. They're still down. They're not quite in the money again, but I did really well on the puts. So again, this one here was just working a core. I was able to, sell in and add back multiple times here. I got all out here. So I took out about 80%, and then we got this pop. And as soon as I saw this candle and this lower high set up on the 200, I got all out. So I'm completely out of the puts on this. Only thing I have left is the calls. They're almost back in the money. Time of day, who knows, right? Who knows this thing? What are we doing now? There's just no telling. Like the triple Qs, I mean, to me, it's a strong close. We need some consolidation. If we can close up over these daily candles, we get some consolidation. We'd definitely get some continuation. It's definitely time for a bounce. I mean, this market has sold off. I'm not bullish. I don't think that it's going to retrace or reclaim or retake this whole move and set new highs. I mean, it could, don't get me wrong, it absolutely could. It's broke key levels, it's done all the work that it needs to do. I mean, I think next stop is somewhere around this 166 area, right? So there's definitely some upside, and I'm going to play it. I'm not going to miss it, absolutely.